Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Do your own research because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties, because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda. All right, good evening, viewers. A few technical issues on the way in today, so if everyone can get it, just share it for the next couple of minutes while you're listening to me gab on. And then we've got a very, very interesting guest on tonight, guys, and we're going to have a look into the what we call the Freedom Movement and the Freedom Summit on the weekend. So that will be interesting. And I think this is something that we need to do. We need to discuss these things. We need to put out the information that we've got. All right. So that people can make their own decision. All right. We are not here to influence you. I'm here to run a news show. All right. And give you what's going on. But this is news. Okay. So quickly, let's Wade tomorrow night. He'll have an update. He has had a couple of interviews. I won't give away who they were with, but he's had a couple of interviews over there in Canberra. So we'll see how that went. From all aspects. He said it didn't go too bad with one of them. So that's great, And then we got a couple of little things going on, guys, around the trap. So childcare transparency, they defy document release order. So the advocates demand childcare transparency as Victorian government defies document release order. So, could we get a little bit of info? It could be, there's more and more going on all the time. Like Penny Wong and that still like just carrying on about, we want the war to end in Gaza. So does everyone else. We want the war to end in Australia, guys. All right, that's what we want. All right, the war that you guys have got going against us. So apparently the problem for the electricity use is at record highs due to our technological advancement. So it's our problem again, guys. All right, yet here's Bowen. We said we didn't want it, yet here they are. They're going ahead. They've earmarked the whole East Coast, guys. The whole East Coast out here, they have earmarked, right, for these windmills to go in. So they're not stopping. They don't care what we've said. They don't care that we've knocked it back. They don't care that they've got people that don't want to do it. Their investors are all going broke. All right. And then here they have the hide to tell us that Brisbane 2032 Olympics, I presume, could bring a $70 billion windfall. Well, what a load of crap. What a load of crap. It cost 70 billion to do it. Like, it's just unbelievable. Anyway, that's where we are. We're still getting the same old crap, the same old bullshit. So let's get our guest in. And yeah, we'll let him, Cole. G'day, mate. How are you?
Good evening.
Yeah, well, I haven't spoken to you yet, but a little birdie let me know that, yeah, you'd been out and about, and you had a little bit of stuff that you'd like to put out there to the people. So hence, we're in here. We're going to give you the show because we think you've got a bit of pertinent information there that people need to check out for themselves and make up their own mind. But, yeah, Cole, once again, you know, you are a bloke who has some runs on the board with the teachers and what went on, and you've always stood true on the path, mate. So take it away. What have you been up to, and what did you do on the weekend?
Thanks, mate. You're right. I am incorruptible. Look, it's very difficult to ascertain as to why information or complaints or inquiries are not getting through to some of these people. That can be whether you're trying to communicate with a government ombudsman or otherwise, a Department of Education or health or whatever your industry is, or a friend, an email when they're coming through or not coming through. Is it a glitch? Is it the Identify and Disrupt bill as part of the surveillance legislation that permits government to enlist an agent, which can be any damn hacker from the street? By the looks of it, doesn't offer any better description, to alter or change your emails or your social media, which I'm not sure what that does to the burden of proof. So when I've only ever have looked at the variables always. I don't make opinions generally. I sound opinionated, but a lot of people are mistaken in that. I first inform my opinion. I don't go top down with a theory. I form a theory based upon the facts. Now, when I bring a discrepancy up to some of these people, whether it be, say Graham Hood, years ago, as and 31,000 teachers called the removal of Mac, Christian Margajani, for sabotage and theft, were these things getting through to Graham Hood? So I had to intercept him in the physical realm, take photos. Always do this, folks, if you're communicating with a politician or otherwise. Take photos of such people to prove that you've communicated to them. Yeah, sorry, mate.
I say record it. We should be recording everything, guys, because if they haven't got a problem, if they've got a problem with the recording, they got a problem with what they're hiding.
Absolutely, mate. And, and they'll walk away. We're trying to do away with the ability of the executive or the corporate executive, the government, which, become corporate executives half the time with the revolving door system, to plausibly deny things, plausible deniability. Oh, I didn't know anything. We got executives on $680,000 a year with a $20 million bonus, and claiming they don't seem to know anything that happens within their portfolio area. So I'm not sure exactly what merit gives them that position. So you're proving it. It's something I tried to do with the Aligned Council of Australia back when I was the representative for the Australia Project. The reason why I'm telling you this, I always jump around, guys. I'm obsessed with the big picture. It's very difficult to ascertain. But the reason why I'll come back to both the Australia Project and the Aligned Council of Australia, currently led by John Larter, who's in the video. So when I was a representative for the TAP, the Australia Project, I remember saying to them, when they were doing their action week and they were approaching people about the WHO Pandemic Agreement Treaty, this was some 2 years ago now, they were doing the same thing, and they had a week. They said, write a letter and then approach an MP. And I said, look, why aren't we filming people approaching the MP, approaching them with legal force and effect? So the language that offers why the treaty is somewhat treasonous, shall we say, can be seen as treasonous or foreign interference. Call it S44 in the Constitution or otherwise. I then equip people with state and territory laws, including Commonwealth laws, with which to protect themselves were they to be given a move-on order by a predatory policeman or just someone who's following orders, or when the slimy little politician starts claiming harassment. And you always say, if someone's claiming offence or harassment, ask if they're of firm and reasonable mind, because otherwise anyone can cry wolf. But the ACA didn't want to share that. Now, whether that was Katrina Lane or even Katie Coppins, who I otherwise like, they tried to get me to just be an editor because I'm an English teacher. They wanted me to spell check. While a woman called, what was her name? Anyway, it'll come to me. Basically stole all my ideas. They didn't like it when I said them. And when she said them 3 minutes later after I'd said them, they'd all applaud. Libby Klein. So I just asked ACA, exactly what were you doing with that? And when I stepped away because I was being interfered with, I couldn't really, whether it was by email or otherwise, communicate with them. I was replaced immediately by a woman called Judy Abbott. She's one of the TAP people, and as anyone knows, hopefully, please go on my channel and have a look. You don't have to share my name. I don't care about fame. The only reason I put my face out there is for information, to inform people. This is meant to be an educational, enlightening, enriching experience. If you're still spinning wheels and watching 9-minute YouTube videos like you were 5 years ago, you're missing the bigger picture. You have to grow muscles, swords, brains, and increase your arsenal and toolbox. This is what I try to do as a teacher. I was replaced in ACA and by one of the real estate agents who's, arguably profiting from the conflicted interests of developers Lance and Kent Brown, who are property developers and who have admitted it to me on the phone, by the way, as they used Aboriginals to create sovereign nations or tribal nations, which is a form of globalism, guys. They create sub-nations. The same thing they're mimicking what the Victorian government is doing, because then it brings in international law, which is legitimate, but it takes you out of the ability of the Australian jurisdiction. By the way, international licenses that are being used by some of the Indian skilled migrants that are being used to drive trucks, until they have to seek the equivalent license after 6 months, the Australian law doesn't have jurisdiction. These guys can rack up to 75 points. I'm being told this by old Linfox drivers. 75 points, demerit points. They can exceed the speed limit by more than 30 and not lose their license because we don't have jurisdiction on it. Okay, so sorry, but Dave, I just wanted to paint the picture there. Coming back to the video, we have a guy called Jamie McIntyre, who I always sort of, I wasn't sure about. I reserve my opinion. I start looking at the indicators as to good or bad, or, some people can come good, some people can be fooled. I myself, erroneously, criticized the recent Canberra parade. And I brought out a statement and I said, look, I apologize for that. It seems like there's good people involved. And my apologies to those people. It's okay to be wrong. You don't want to be wrong, but it's better to admit your mistakes. And we're all mistaken.
Yep.
And it's hard for a guy like me to say so, but I did because I was misled. I'd broken my own rule. And I'd listened to buffoons like David O'Niglio, who was calling it the second convoy to Canberra, and Graham Hoodie Hood, who thinks he's got any right to say what the hell happens to anyone else. Now, we have Jamie McIntyre and his Free Speech Summit in the Gold Coast on the 19th and 20th. That was last weekend, just gone. It was moved, supposedly on the grounds that it was complaints were made. This is a weaponized system of complaints, guys. You see it everywhere. We've had a mayor down in Whittlesea for the Freedom Party be removed because of the complaints of their fellow council members. They just make complaints. Dr. William Bay, removed for the complaints. They just mount complaints. You see it in Department of Education as vicious teachers or otherwise, parents mount complaints. The allegations are enough to move you from active duty. So anyway, so that supposedly happened, and the Star Casino was lost, and they moved over to a pub in southern Brisbane. I think it's still Gold Coast. Okay, so I turned up. I knew they wouldn't invite me. They didn't. I knew they wouldn't want me there. They didn't. So I turned up anyway, and I wore a disguise, because hey, just for fun, Dave, right? I know what they look like. I know they know what I look like because I get on these videos and I've been doing it for years, and I've met a lot of them in person. I've informed Hoodie twice in person about Mac, for example. Hoodie, by the way, boycotted the event on the grounds that it was trying to make too much money. He doesn't mind when Mac or him and supposedly his own foundations rake in about a big heap. So, Hoodie, as usual, is a hypocrite like the rest of them. Lada was there, though. You'll see it on the video. So what happened, guys, is I rocked in and I was a bit late. It was Dr. Steve Kirsch. I'm going to release more videos and more information as to what I found about these people. I was in two minds about Dr. Steve Kirsch. Reputedly, I've been told at least he's a billionaire. I haven't ascertained that fact yet, whether it is a fact or not. Anyway, so when he was on stage, he had a good point in the way that he said he reads the data well. Because it's either not being read by doctors and chemists and people in the the CDC, because there's an Australian one, by the way, now, as per the recommendations of the C19 inquiry report written by Kruk et al. And that's also on my page if you want to see it. If you don't want to read the 600-page report, guys, go on my page You might go, oh, gee, that's a big post. Not when it's a 600-page report. It's not. Just read it. It's only a few paragraphs. It'll give you what you need from it because the report itself was regurgitating itself over and over. There was Steve Kirsch, Dr. Steve Kirsch. You'll find him on Twitter and elsewhere. And when he was asked a question, there's a few red flags. Should I read him out, Dave?
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. We want to know, it was supposedly a freedom summit. So you've been up there, you've infiltrated, you've gone in and had a look from the back door how you want to do it. So give us a rundown. We've got like another, 30 minutes. So we want to know what happened, what your thoughts are, so people can go and check this out for themselves, okay?
Yes, they can.
I imagine I'll give you stuff going on your channel. Tell me when you want the video played, part 1 and part 2, and I'll play them.
Feel free. Okay, so and share it around, troops. I was polite on the video, by the way. I try to make friends with these people. I offer them the information. If they fail to use it, just like a copper, you walk in nice, and when the copper says, "Oh, there's nothing we can do," that's when you realise the guy's not doing his job. Same with these guys. They don't know how to self-regulate their own iffy click. I call them IFFIs guys. It's an acronym like AAMI or NSW, IFI. Idiot freedom influencers. Dave said he's not an influencer. He just gives information. But these other guys are with their cult of F-grade celebrity. So, look, here's the red flags. I've got some notes here. I scrolled down about Dr. Kirsch. Now, one of them was that he speaks religiously about ChatGPT. And I'm not sure if you know, but in New South Wales, it's been outlawed for legal professionals because when one of them used it to write a submission, it created completely fabricated case law. So that's going to save a few lawyers their job because they're looking at 15 to 25% of lawyers losing their job to AI. And what a shame that would be. It's a bit like that bottom of the ocean joke. The other thing is that when asked a question about Bill Gates, Kirsch defended him and said he was a very sincere and intelligent man.
No, that's enough for me.
Well, right? How can he be both?
I'm serious. Yeah, in true life, at an event like that, that's enough for me. You're not playing games. You're not part of the background setup of all the bullshit. Well, you are obviously in a way, but not the way that we may have thought. So that's just real Kirsch out. Right, move on.
Yeah. Look, and I'm not sure. And look, I don't mean to offend the Christians here, but I'm just going to use a philosophical conundrum. It's called the problem of natural evil. It says that, let's put it this way. If Bill Gates is so well informed and intelligent, and they say he's genius and all that. I don't think he is, but we'll see. And he supposedly knows everything about vaccines because he's pushing them on third world nations, developing nations. Then he would be informed. Now, if he was a sincere, and I quote sincere, that's what Kirsch described him as. Would he not either know that vaccines are killing people? So he's either being insincere or he's stupid.
Okay, so yeah.
So that's
Gates. We all know about Gates, so we don't need to paint the picture of Gates, all right? And if Kirsch has said that, well, he's lost me, and that's my opinion, and wasting time on him. Move on. That's
right
what
on.
I say.
Okay. So look, then I went out and I put my phone in my top pocket with the camera on, and I started to intercept these people. Because that was then followed, by the way, by a 20-minute presentation on the Marina Bay Resort, rumored to be a smart city in Lombok, Indonesia. You'll have seen David Neegs pushing that one as well for $25,000 for expats. You may have seen Nicola Charles from the White Rabbit. And no, she gets things wrong, but I think she means well. She did a good thing on Grunt 370 for Rod Cullerton. I think they parted ways now, but that's the poison that's been used by Forestries Victoria for pine plantations. It's killing all the raspberry and blueberry farmers down in Gippsland. Anyway, so you've got a 20-minute presentation on that. We're seeing that ASIC, and look, I mean, take or leave ASIC, we know that they can be used to kill anyone that's not one of the government's preferred billionaires. So there's that potential. But he was ruled out with his brother Dennis to practice that sort of trading for 10 years by ASIC. So that's why he doesn't come to Australia, troops. He's been in Indonesia and selling property from there because he's broken the ASIC ban by the looks of it. From my understanding, I've only just got across it in the last few hours. Anyway, so they did it. Look, this whole thing I thought was wallpaper to sell his timeshare sort of stuff. Anyway, that's the impression I got in the end. Because when you saw the mishmash mix of people he had there, they're the kind of people who wouldn't get in the same room. They all sort of conflict. So, look, first one to intercept was Dave O'Neig's. So he's sitting there with a sovereign citizen, certainly a sovereign citizen, admit it or not, as you know, folks, if the shoe fits, the AFP can go, well, ultimately even the ADF can go after you because you're known as a domestic terrorist. Remember, I was talking about Stephen Demetto writing the police brief on sovereign citizens, or SOVCITs. You're sitting there with one of them and he's going, oh, yeah, this one, she knows her stuff. Meanwhile, another bloke sitting there talking about Derek Balog. Now, Derek Balog's a guy that's fooled a bunch of us in the beginning, and then when we found out a bunch of people lost their houses, we weren't fooled. So that's what Dave O'Neig's was sitting there. So first I said, how come you removed me from your channel? He said an administrator called Rosetta had done it. And then from that point, once I started mentioning Mac and Monica, he lost it. And he got all tanty. And he started going, oh, we don't want to hear it. You're talking. I'm trying to have a nice lunch. You're trying to have a free lunch, Dave, is what you're having. You dope. Anyway, so he starts losing it at me. I think he mistook me for someone else. Number one, for someone who had put up with it. Number two, for someone who wouldn't beat shit out of him in the car park if he took a real swing. So I gave him a good pat on the back just to make sure that both options were open to the pussy. And then I flogged him with argument. And I told him I was going to destroy him online. I said, and I walked up to reconfirm with the camera. So you confirm that you don't want to hear about Mac and Monica? No, I don't want to hear it. Okay. So as usual, the transparent bookkeeping part is something that sends these guys into a rage. Monica, she's about to go to New Zealand. $1,000 a week to put a few posts on Twitter is what she's been giving herself. As she postpones, any legal professional by now who's legitimate would have told her that a private prosecution can be immediately and will be immediately assumed by a public prosecutor, who will then shut it down under the grounds of things like it's not in the interests of judgment and the pursuit of justice, or not in the public interest, and no evidence to offer, Your Honour. Ask Pastor Paul, he'll tell you. So that was Dave O'Neig's. On that same video, I went over and I ran to John Wilson's. John Wilson with his Freedom Union, who, to my understanding, he was kicked out of. This is what someone told me recently. So I settled things with John Wilson, who used to attack me online. He used to call me Cole the Socialist when I made sure that people weren't implicated in the Nathaniel Train massacre, because Peter Dutton was trying to call everyone that was Christian a Christian extremist, because that's what he was calling Nathaniel Train. John Wilson then tried to make a name of himself by coming after me and actually refusing to separate him and his population's identity from what happened with the Nathaniel Train massacre. Call it terrorism, calling anything you want. That's what that guy put you up to. So I made sure he knew who I was. And he, of course, scuttled away like a flea-bitten dog as usual as well. So I think the video I gave you today, though, there's three of them. There's another one with Michael Gray Griffith. Now, he's a nasty little man, a known adulterer, has a long suffering wife, is what I'm told by people in Victoria, as him and all these other God-fearing Christians like Mac and Stephen McDonald from AFA and Roland Crystal with his special tight white T-shirt, who's on there, by the way, go around chasing poor, desperate and frustrated vulnerable women. Look, I would have done it when I was 28, but no, not now if I was married and a Christian. So the video you've got today is John Larter. Now, I've got to admit, I was in a few minds about John Larter. I'll give you the things I know about John Larter. John Larter in the beginning set what we call bad precedent law. He's very quick to do it. I remember talking to his legal counsel before he ran the case. By the time I was self-representing in the IRC, that's the Industrial Relations Commission, in early 2022, John Larter's case law was there ready like a barrier to be used to dismiss my case, otherwise buried by administrators there, all having the same name, which was Mia, which is very strange. I keep running into Mias when I ring these government institutions. I'm not sure about that anymore. John Larter, who does club grubbery with little Hoodie, who likes to baptize frauds and saboteurs like Mac as he conceals Monica. Remember, it's not just what these people are doing. It's the opposite of guilt by association, folks. It's credit by association. They want you to think better of them for the material they offer. Meanwhile, they don't offer a solution. They haven't had a single victory. And it's what they don't offer. It's the guilt by omission. Remember, a criminal act can be by act or omission. It's what they're omitting. They're not showing stuff about, the Freedom Summit and, the things that have come up against Jamie McIntyre or Dave O'Neig's or Christian Mac. So that's another thing about Larter.
Yeah. well, look, and this is all, your opinion, and your channel will contain what people want to see here. I don't care whether people want to call it bullshit or not. I think this is, discussions that we need to have. You know what I mean? Now, whether you believe Cole or not, that's beside the point. You go and check it out for yourself. But, this Freedom Summit was, really not a Freedom Summit is what I worked out for it. So, these people seem to be all, it's the same crew as what was involved when, it was go home from Canberra, this, that, and the other. And I'm not here to persecute anyone, you know what I mean? Lada, Hoodie, Anees, the rest of them. But these people don't seem to be able to talk about the real issues, which is, what happened, in our freedom movement and how can we move forward? And whilst these people are just sitting in the background, continuing to just like put it down and not want to talk about it, we're not really moving forward anywhere. So, the idea here tonight was for me anyway, to get, the opinion of what was it about? You know what I mean? If people like Caz weren't even nominated as a producer of the year for a news show in the freedom movement, which, I don't care about me not being there or anything else, will stop the right now, but credit where credit's due. And if nothing like that happened, if it was a selected committee or selected people with other people excluded, why was that? And what would be the meaning of that? So that's what I was after, Cole, out of it.
Okay. All right, I'll address that point. It was worse than the Logies. You know what I mean? It was F grade. I call them F graders. The same preferred lineup, thinking that they were going to nominate an award for anybody, as if they were in a position to do so, as if they've shown the merit, as if they've shown the ability to be of rational thought. Half of these guys still purvey the paranoid internet myths. They continue to give you a very F grade example of what could otherwise. I've worked with activists. These are smart, in the past, and these are smart and fierce, integral and artistic people. This B graders that get up there are just spinning in circles as they perpetuate their own F grade celebrity. That's what celebrities have one job, Dave, and it's to keep their faces out there, rather than purveying any information. So the information's secondary. So that's what these guys did. I think, look, the purpose was he was clinging to get anyone there. Avi Yemeni didn't turn up. I'm guessing he found out I was going to come. Kurt Mailberg from the Cairns News didn't turn up. He probably found out I was coming. It's only because I was going to challenge him to admit that he should be called a religious reporter rather than he's not a reporter. He's got it. If you're going to offer ideological journalism, you got to say so. Otherwise, the other 98% are not going to come across. They're not going to listen. And that's what I kept pushing to these people. Now, most of them didn't want the 98%. They want the captured 2%. So while they try to keep it exclusive, they then try to exclude, because that's what exclusive means, right? And Michael Gray Griffith said as much. He didn't want to win the other 98%. He scares them off. And I've heard, Wade Northhausen talking about him. You guys weren't there because it was inconvenient to them. You might have asked questions. They're like, it's like talking to Tom Cruise. He's going to give you 19 questions ready to be asked. So that's what you saw.
All in all, we saw a freedom thing put together that probably had a backyard concept because, it didn't seem like many people were there. I heard about 1,900 tickets being sold. How many people were actually there, Cole? Can you tell me?
That, 150. I'm bad at judging, but I'm got a photographic memory, but I do sometimes. And I tried to sort of see the crowd. I can see it now in my mind's eye. I'd say 150. And I mean, but that's
the publicity said that they'd sold 1,900. We got told 1,900 that they'd said they'd sold tickets to it. So
sounds like the Monica trick. Yeah, it sounds like the Monica trick. They try to say they got people because everyone else thinks they're popular, and they try to follow the cool kids. Yeah.
And as I said, guys, I'm not here to kick anyone. I'm here to bring the news and the information of what Cole's been to the Freedom Summit. And I was wondering what this Freedom Summit was about because I couldn't really work it out. You know what I mean? It's not as if we had, if it's for Australia and it's being done in Australia, well, it's not as if we had the people that I thought we would have had in Australia represented there. We got Max, who I got no qualms with, but I mean, Max ran away to Mexico. you know, because he was going to get arrested. So these aren't the sort of people. Yeah, well, he was meant to be there, wasn't he?
Yeah, but what I mean is, Monica did this in Melbourne. I remember going, Alex Antique's going to turn up. They appear on a screen, Dave. It's just, so it's a bunch of them are just zooming in. They're not appearing. So, you know, you're trying to charge $495 so you could get a photo with Dave Drongo O'Neiggs, you know, and be sold, you know, it was like a timeshare meeting where they offer you a free bloody, you know, mini digital camera to sit there for 2 hours and let them plug you for, you know, property in Marina Bay Resort for a bloke that's been banned from doing so as he flees the country and does it from there anyway. So that's what I think it was about. I put it to Lada. You'll see this video. I put it to Lada. Thank you.
We'll put the video there. Let's put the video on. Let's have a look.
Sure. Oh, can I just explain what's going to happen? I'll be very quick. That's going to be Lada. I'm going to put it to him about his brother-in-law, Stephen Kelly, telling me a story about John Lada realising that money that Mac had said was going to him didn't go to him. That was February 2022. Roland Crystal's there. So he's mates with Mac. He loves standing there next to him in a tight T-shirt. And so was Dr. Kirsch. Now, I was nice to Kirsch because I hadn't really thought about it. It was all happening very, very quickly because it was kicking the hornet's nest. And these guys all tried to, you know, come and stand next to me and film me and stuff like that. But fortunately, they were a bunch of limpies and, you know, not scary.
All right, well, let's have a look.
Sure.
Sorry. Is that you, Dr. Kirsch? Is that Dr. Kirsch? Hello, mate. Sorry to interrupt, guys. I share a lot of your stuff on Twitter. My name's Cole, the sociologist. I help why the make the 31,000 New South Wales teachers resist. Oh, John Lada. G'day, mate. How are you? Good. Why won't Hoodie share my material about Christian Mac Markajani stealing $300,000 off the teacher group? Remember, Stephen Kelly, your brother-in-law, he walked up to me in January 2022 and he said, me and John was watching a video. He said, come over here. It was one of my videos. And he said, these are fake glasses. Just had to get past the airport. They keep tackling me. Bloody painful things. $2 at the costume shop. And they, trust me, they thought I was a sovereign. They were calling me a sovereign citizen, domestic terrorist, AFP. Christian Markajani said when we took $96,000 out of people, because we're trying to raise money for Raymond J. Broomhall, we were meant to give $5,000 to your, this is late 2021, right? And apparently Stephen Kelly, he comes up to me, he said, you called him over and said, you know what, we never saw that $5,000. That was Christian Mac. Where is he now? He made all the money disappear, right? He took another $300,000 and then he sold a bunch of people out to Red Union. Is that you, Roland Crystal? G'day, mate. Where are the aviators, brother? Right? So if you just help us regulate the general freedom movement, because it only takes one single incriminating evidence element with which to discredit your entire product or your personality, right? So these guys are insinuating the law of terrorism. If you praise an act of terrorism, that is an act of terrorism. If you attack telecommunications like the Blade Runners and praise that act, that's an act of terrorism. We cannot give people this bait with which to give them easy prey to incrimination. So if Hoodie would like to help me, because he went to Canberra despite Christian Mac Markajani being booed off stage for theft and fraud, and he still protected him. Help me reveal these people. They're only going to undermine us. We need to go forward. We're in our 5th iteration now. It's 5 years later. Don't make it easy on them. Okay, and by the way, if you've still got Australia Project on your Aligned Council of Australia, they've been proven to be a false entity by Kent and Lance Brown. I worked with them for 4 years. They're federal agents of some sort, and they put in false tribal nations, which flips to developers. They're both developers, and all of TAP are either real estate agents, developers, builders, or sort of a related tradesperson. So again, call the sociologist, go on my page. Don't put my name on it. I don't need the fame. I want to protect my nieces. I don't want my face out there. I wear fake glasses. But have a look at the material. Test it with Grok. Test it with ChatGPT. And one more thing, if I may, Dr. Kirsch. What do you think of Dr. David E. Martin's Fauci dossier? Because that seems fairly 6-page. It's got all the links. Is that pretty good? Okay.
Martin does good work.
Pardon?
Martin does good work.
Okay, cool. So if I share that, it's fairly legitimate?
Yep.
Awesome. Love your work. While he studies the data, I study the conflict of interest. And if you have a look at who's electing the peer review panel, this is the National Health Medical Review Council. Have a look who's on there. They're always current or ex-Pfizer board members, and that includes the Vice Chancellors Committee. They're the ones that approve research in Australia. Look at all the Vice Chancellors of universities, Bill Shorten, ex-politicians, you know. That's why they're burning the data in the Pfizer study up in Queensland.
Well, they certainly don't want to make much comment on anything, do they, Cole?
No, and you watch. Some of these guys are bringing stuff out now that I was saying 3 years ago. I know they know who I am. I've sent stuff to them. I meet them in person because I intercept them, and they refuse to share it. They want everyone spinning their wheels in the car park and watching and you know, buying them a coffee. That's what they want. They don't offer solutions. They don't get with good people. Eventually, the good people work it out. Everyone having a victory has got nothing to do with any of these people. So you watch them not share that, you know, any of that. This is important stuff. Your average person has to work out because it's the peer review that's used to defeat people. Sorry?
Yeah, this is about character, Cole. You know what I mean? You know, and you know, so us people who are supposedly held in, you know, I don't want to be held in any influence. I run a news show, but you know, we've got to have character. You know, the people have seen me stand on my character. You know, when it come to Bosie, you know, and what went on there with his missus. You know what I mean? You know, you've got to have principles. Now, if Lada and that have dropped their principles back then, all right, they're already gone, mate. You know, you need to keep lying then. You need to keep telling bullshit. I keep saying to the viewers, the best thing about the truth is you got nothing to remember. Those guys couldn't open their mouth then because they were going to fucking open their mouth and they would have put themselves further in it because they got to lie. They got to cover. They're thinking, you know, what did I say back then? Geez, oh, no, what did Steve say, me brother-in-law? You know, like Christ, you know. And this is where, guys, all right, and what I want to show you here is character of people, okay? I'm not into bagging anyone out. I'm not into running people down, you know that. But we need to know what we're up against here in our movement, okay? So let's get video 2 on, Cole. You agree?
Well, it was a good intro, mate, because that's exactly the logic that the woman's about to try and attempt, which is the concealment of people for the good of the movement. Feel free.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
Yes.
because the government and the censorship has a lot more power at the moment than we do.
Yeah, digital supremacy.
Exposing Christian Mac
Yes.
will cause a lot more damage
How so?
because the government will use it against us.
No, you've got to separate yourself from criminal.
All their bank accounts, because you can't trust any of them. You know,
He's already. The movement knows. The movement mostly knows, right? So some of the leaders, so-called leaders, are in denial. They're the ones not sharing it. Most of the movement knows.
Yeah.
Same with Monica Schmidt, guys. Sorry, you know, a public prosecutor takes over the case. That easy. New South Wales or Victoria, 140 grand. What a surprise! She's going on another bloody tour. We've got to filter out the criminals. If we don't distinguish ourselves from them, we shall be collected with them. Yeah. So you need to offer your mistakes. If anyone's ever made a mistake in unambiguous, unmistakable language, offer it. If you've breached a terrorism law, which they can offer perpetual incarceration, offer an explicit statement. Separate yourself from that. We have a population to protect, including ourselves and our families. Anyway, thank you very much for listening.
what we could have learned is that one person should never be in charge of the money.
No. And what about transparent bookkeeping? Where's the receipt?
Where did the money go?
There are no receipts.
It went into a bank account.
It went into his personal bank account after he rerouted it. Yeah. It was meant to be for Christmas hampers. We only needed 27 grand for Raymond J. Broomhall, but the other ended up being about 280. Gone. Well, remember, it's the reverse. The onus of evidence. If I give you 200 grand, am I not a...
No, there was 200 grand.
Oh, because I was one of the 4 people that started the teacher group. Me, Mac, Rob and Rayner. Yeah, I was the strategist. Mac was the Russell Crowe up the front. Yeah. But John, you're in a great position at the moment, mate. Just add some added scrutiny, because the rest of the 98% of Australians will not come across until we remove the silly internet myths like, flat earth, which is another silly thing that they put in there to put people off, right? And some of the known professional fundraisers that are milking people. Christian Mack, you look at him 10 years ago doing it. Monica Schmidt, you can look at her 10 years ago and doing it. I know we have to balance whether we keep people hopeful, but in the end, we've got just an echo chamber with about 0.00002% of the population. We need to get the other 98%. That's why no one's got any money. So anyway, I hope I can count on you. Kirsch, love your work, mate. You see me on Twitter. I'll help you out. Thank you very much. Very helpful today. I'm going to put my plastic back on. See ya.
That's certainly not a very big crowd there, but anyway, yeah.
No, it was a pub. It was a pub with a room where they had the band, and that's what they used. They had a bunch of people supposedly from A&R with laptops opened up in the places where you'd usually put a DJ or a sound techie to look all special. But I could see them playing solitaire and everything else. They weren't doing a lot. The host was a fairly, he seemed to ask decent questions. The guy at the very end, standing at the bar, was one of the strange older men that kept walking around with a backpack. Anyone that's had much to do with undercovers knows they've usually got a backpack because they've got to keep their equipment in it. You saw him. It's been that way for many years. They might as well be driving a new Commodore with a big aerial and no tow bar. He kept trying to follow me. Every time I kept talking to people in little dark corners, which I try to discourage. You'll see me in some of the videos say, people try to talk to me because some people recognize me somehow. And I'd say, don't talk to me. You don't want to talk to me because I'm making enemies here. I kept them at bay. But that fellow kept trying to follow me amongst a bunch of others. And notably, guys, by the time I got to Brisbane Airport, because I went to Brisbane, and by the way, do you know all trains in Queensland are 50 cents, no matter how far you go? That's Gold Coast to Brisbane, 50 cents, unless you take the airport line. Yeah, unless you take the airport line, which has been privatised, and it's $20, right? That's what happens when you privatise. So,
exactly.
A man
whole country's been privatised.
Yes.
And the freedom movement's been privatised into some areas, guys, that have been, and that's why I just wanted to get this out, all right? There's certain people out there that make a living out of this, okay? And it's not right, guys, all right? We're actually here fighting so that our future can have a living, all right? The future generations to come, the kids to come, all right? The people that are, coming behind us. So, what I wanted to do was get this out there about this Freedom Symposium, all right, or whatever it was called or whatever it was, okay, and just get someone's view who was on the ground. Cole was on the ground. You've seen the videos there, not too many people want to answer too many questions when it comes to what's gone on in our freedom movement. I think I'm the only one that's actually, covered it and done a live with Beck when the question was asked, 2 lives actually. But yeah, so anyway, tonight was just about letting you know what was going on at the how many people were there, as we saw. That was in the pub. It wasn't that big a thing, and I wonder what the real message was, and what the real, because I don't know. As I said, I wasn't invited. I didn't get any paperwork on it. I don't know anything about it. You know what I mean? So again, it was something to do with the freedom movement. I thought it was worth covering, guys. So Cole, closing statements to the Australian people, mate.
Thank you. Okay, if you want to see my claims about the Australia Project, go on my channel. Someone shared it earlier. There's a link in the chat. Have a look at Tap Slam. It's 40-page. Try. It's not just I say some of it. It's real quotes, real links to videos. Check out the pseudo-Semitic. So I'm calling the Zionist pseudo-Semitic, because they want to say you're anti-Semitic if you trash the Zionist government. You're not, or the ones in Australia. Have a look at Arnold Bloch Liebler, Mark Liebler, Jeremy Liebler. They're the ones that take past and present politicians to go and kiss the wall in the arse. Gillian Siegel has released the special envoy thing on anti-Semitism. Is she related to Oren Siegel of the Anti-Defamation League in the States, who's doing exactly the same thing? Maybe. Don't know. Palantir. Look at what they're doing in the UK with KPMG. Look at what KPMG does here. It was called privatization by stealth. KPMG are those to whom they outsourced writing of the legal certificate stuff at the TAFE, New South Wales, which is essentially unlawful. I know. I was speaking to people that do it. Joel Jamal, though I like Joel personally, I don't agree with him on everything. He's an impressive young man, but essentially he's one nation. He's one nation under another name. And that was exhibited in anything from trying to get me to do hit pieces on people where they had a chance in their electorate. For $2,000 a pop. And that was a few years ago. I started to do it in Hornsby on Matt Keane. And then I found that they were pro-nuclear. There's no such thing as good, clean nuclear. It's just got a little bit cleaner, but in the end, it's nuclear waste. That includes the molten salt reactors that are being pushed by the Citizens Party. I hate to say, I like the Citizens Party. I like Robert Barwick. I certainly like Dr. Andy Schmullo. But unfortunately, molten salt reactors, again, is potentially another industry-led science that's being pushed to people that have no way of testing whether it's valid. You've got to go to the people on the ground. And check out White Rabbit. She talks further about like Jamie McIntyre. And that's me, troops. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. Well, look, thanks for going up there stealth or, undercover, doing what you've done, getting some footage out there because, we got a lot of gatekeepers, okay, and we need to be able to work out, as I said, someone just said, Guru, you picked them all years ago. Yeah, I did because it wasn't hard. I was in there, they were trying to coerce me and, someone else coming over to their way of thinking, and that weren't going to happen. And that's why the alienation straight away down at Epic Guys, all right, because we knew straight away.
Yep. 2 more videos, by the way. 2 more videos coming. That includes Michael Gray Griffith.
No, I'll get you to put them out. As I say, you, get them going. And as you say, Cole's channels there, guys. You go and have a look at the information for yourself. If you're not interested, you're not interested. If you are, well, go and have a look. And you should be, because it's about us, okay? And we need to be able to come together, but we can't come together while we continually have people just drawing and sucking the energy out of us and ripping us off and doing the wrong thing, okay? So that's what tonight was all about, to find out what the Freedom Symposium, actually done. I think it sold or tried to sell, whatever it could. If it's selling or ripping, I don't really know. I'm not going to say, okay, but obviously something's going down in Bali and they wanted to spread the word about, being part of a 15-minute city in Lombok. Mm-hmm. Well, there you go. All right, guys, good night. Thank you again. Caz is going to be fine, guys. She just she's feeling a bit down, so we just give her the night off to stick her feet up and do whatever she wants and relax. So all good. We'll be back tomorrow night. Listen, guys, it's getting serious, all right? Things like this need to be known, all right? And we need to be able to move forward in a direction where we know we got people surrounding us and people actually doing what they have to be doing, all right? And, not, and thanks for what you've done there, Cole, because the good Lord told us, he said, you go out there and be as cunning as snakes, okay, but be as gentle as doves. And I think you're interviewing there. You're in the snake pit, mate. They could have been spitting viper at you, but obviously you went in there gentle as a dove and they had nothing to say to you because, as I said, if they'd had to have said anything, they could have been telling lies because they don't know what to say because they've been covering their asses for years, guys. All right. So just remember a couple of things. I'll end on this. Number one, the only thing you don't get, I've asked you this before, the riddle. The only thing you don't get a second chance at, guys, is a first impression. Okay. And the other thing is you tell the truth. You got nothing to remember. Sleep on them tonight, guys. Good night. Thanks, Cole. Well done, son.